What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Ray's, back with another Outriders video to bring to you, and today we're going to be looking over something that's been making its rounds on Reddit, taking the Outriders communities by storm, and has also been released in a video recently by Cloud Plays, and we've had a bit appear on one of our carry streams just to be able to have a talk, and he challenged me to be able to make a build, and I think this is possibly the best way to be able to run this kind of mod combination, but let's get into it in a second. But first, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, because this really is such a good find, and obviously we want to be able to give credit where it's due, but in terms of the build idea to be able to make this work is the best it possibly could do. That has all come from ourselves, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you smash that like button, and let's get into it. Now, I want to start off by giving credit where credit is due. Now, obviously, this find was definitely not from ourselves. This was from someone that's currently in the Outriders community called Stefkey, but we know him as Stefan when he comes onto our streams, and obviously that's his YouTube name. But Stefkey was the one that was able to post a very small snippet of using a pump-action shotgun that was able to shoot off multiple scrap grenades from the same magazine. Now, if you don't already know what scrap grenade does, basically the first shot from every single magazine, when full, is turned into an anomaly kind of grenade that when it hits a surface or when it hits an enemy, explodes, dealing about 258k damage as standard. And obviously you can expand that a little bit further by increasing your multipliers for anomaly damage, and also the multipliers for like bleed and toxic and status and all that kind of good stuff. So once this kind of started making its way around and realizing that it does have a cooldown of 1 second, which usually does not come into practice because reloads on this game are very longer than 1 second, it kind of highlighted the fact that, oh, this could be a really good find and a really good way to be able to make anomaly builds, find a way to be able to move past Moaning Winds so that we actually do have something to be able to fall back on. So this has made it a lot of fun and a lot of explosions, because what was also found is that Grand Opening also triggers the exact same way, because it used to be the first bullet of that, when that connected with an enemy, caused an explosion for around about 250k explosion damage as well. So pair these two together, you're looking at a mod combination for every single second of about 500k as standard. Now, obviously, these will appear as two separate damage numbers, so when you see the damage numbers from the build that's in the background, just bear that in mind, that obviously it's not the two together, but they will be separate ones. So Cloud Plays then released a video of showing off, I believe it was his Technomancer that was able to use it, and he did actually come over to our stream and showed us off just in full practice of it, and wow, we're really blown away just as to how fun this actually could be when it's actually put together in a build. So he challenged me. He said, well, how would you go about it? So I suggested to him it would possibly be best on a Devastator because of the crowd control when it comes to Endless Mass, but it was a case of, do you go for Seismic Commander or do you go for Marshal? Now, obviously, Seismic is widely used in the community for Devastators, so that just kind of really left that Marshal should get a little bit more love when it comes to these kind of mods. So I made it my task to be able to find a way to be able to use the Marshal set, to use these mods, and still be able to do those gold CT15s while primarily using it. So we're not using the skills to be able to deal damage, we're using those to be able to debuff our enemies, to then just purely use the weapon mods and see if that can still do a gold CT15. And I think if you've watched the end of this video, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, and obviously given credit where credit is due, let's get into the build aspect as to what I've done, but the legwork that I've gone and set about to be able to make this viable and actually make this a lot of fun when it comes to endgame content. So obviously, we've gone with the Darkness Charmer as standard. Now, the Darkness Charmer comes with Grand Opening, and obviously that gets that mod, which is one of the ones that are currently bugged. So it just makes sense that we have that, and because the Grand Opening and the Scrap Grenade don't seem to trigger on ARs, it makes sense for us to go for a pump action shotgun that already has that mods, rather than going for the Juggler, which obviously won't trigger. So we've gone for Grand Opening, we've gone for Scrap Grenade. Now, keep in mind that you can choose to use Fortress instead, and obviously get that nice damage bump obviously in there, but I thought, do you know what, we're just going for the two mods that are currently working like that at the moment. Let's just have a lot of fun, let's play around with them. So I've paired the two together. So we've got Grand Opening, we've got Scrap Grenade. In terms of the weapon perks that come on the Darkness Charmer, literally do not make any difference because we're not really using it. I mean, Status Power does kind of come into the build because we are looking to be able to do a little bit of bleed. In terms of skills, I've gone for an Earthquake, a Gravity Leap, and an Endless Mass. The reason why is because I want Earthquakes to be able to inflict bleed, I want Gravity Leap to be able to inflict debuffs, and I want Endless Mass to also inflict debuffs, but I also want it to be able to gather the enemies together. So the natural process would be Endless Mass, gather enemies all together, hit them all with an Earthquake, so they're all bleeding, hit them with the Gravity Leaps, and then start going to town basically with this gun. Now you can go a slightly different way as well, so you can, because the build will be showing 3 Earthquakes, what you could do is gather them all together, use 1 Earthquake, use a Gravity Leap, start popping the gun off. The debuffs will actually wear off and the status will wear off, so that leaves you with another Earthquake to be able to inflict that bleed back on, and then you can hit them with another debuff with the Gravity Leap while your Endless Mass is on cooldown. In terms of the actual build, we've gone for as much cooldown reduction as possible when it comes to our skills. We've also gone for much resistance piercing. In terms of like kind of perks and all that, what else would pick up? I kind of went for the capstone when it came to seismic shifter. I mean, that's kind of negligible. You could potentially move that into somewhere else. But I just thought, you know what, it gives me a little bit of damage just to be able to help out. But you could easily move that into somewhere else if you wanted a bit more survivability, or you wanted a bit more like bleed damage when it comes to that side of things. The reason why we've gone for middle tree is, one, we had so many points left over, which allowed us to go up to the top to be able to get cooldown reduction, and it also allows us to be able to get the melee skill, where every single time we do a melee around several enemies, it increases our resistance piercing, and resistance piercing really comes into its own when it comes to these kind of mods that go on your weapons, because they do inflict anomaly damage. So if you can reduce the resistance that enemies have as much as possible, then you'll be able to deal a lot more damage when it comes to it. In essence, this build is technically a combination of the Scorpion build that we did do, which is obviously about debuffing and crowd controlling, and then obviously being able to inflict all that damage with our weapon mods. Now, usually it is Moaning Winds, but with these, it actually is so much better than Moaning Winds. One, because it triggers a lot quicker, and two, because of the sheer amount of damage it can do. Now, obviously, you're not going to be seeing millions in terms of damage regularly with this combination, but that's because it's 2 weapon mods together, and obviously they will show separate numbers. And also on top of that, Moaning Winds is obviously a bigger number, so when you start putting percentages into it, you actually get more of a gain from that higher number than you would do from these 2. But I guarantee you will have a lot of fun with this, and you will be genuinely surprised as to how effective it really can be. Now, obviously, keep in mind this is currently bugged. This will eventually get patched out of the game, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a lot of fun with it for the time being. In terms of how the mods currently work, just remember that the scrap grenade does come out at a slight higher angle, because it will go upwards and then come down, so almost like an artillery. So you do need to be aiming for around about the feet level. In terms of ground opening, you need the hits from the shotgun to be able to land for that mod to then trigger, and that obviously then deals the amount of damage they do. So when you get up close, which obviously is a shotgun, and obviously you're playing as a Devastator, you should be doing that anyway, you can actually aim straight at the floor. You can, from the gameplay that you can see in the background, you can find all the different ways to be able to shoot this gun, and obviously you can use it as a bit of a long range support, you can use it as close range if it is like a panic button, all that kind of good stuff. Now it gets to the point where I feel bad that this is actually going to be going, because I had so much fun with this. It actually brought a breath of fresh air to the game for me, that I actually had to go back into it. I had to do another expedition. I had to do another build. Something that was just so much fun. And because it was new, maybe that was the reason why. Maybe I was just blinded by the fact that we've had something change. Similar to like how if when we get all those armor changes come through and all those legendary mods that they're talking about getting changed, it will breathe some fresh air into the game for me, and I'll happily jump back in and plow another like 100 hours just to try and figure out what's the best kind of combination for all these new things that are going to be happening. You know, this was a lot of fun, and I genuinely wish they would keep something like this in the game. Now, I understand if they need to tone it down a little bit, but if they were, I would only ask for them to be able to tone down the power down a little bit. So I understand that obviously we've got Moaning Winds at around about 380k on an 8-second cooldown, and to have 250k on a 1-second cooldown that we can blast out is not really in the same kind of league. So I understand if they cut it down to maybe 170 or 150k, then that would be absolutely fine. I would still find a way to be able to love and enjoy this combination that's currently in the game. So I'll just leave you with the rest of the run so you can see how it's played out, so you can see the times, all that kind of good stuff. But what I will say is that this is 100% worth just jumping onto, just trying out, as long as you've got time and as long as you've got the mods available to yourself. Maybe try out my build, maybe try it a different way, but this was the one that I was challenged to do, this was the one I was tasked to do, and I had a lot of fun and I had a lot of success being able to use it. So get out there, try out some nice combinations, and let me know how you get on. And in the meantime, it just gives me a little bit of time to say thank you to obviously the members that are of the Babylonian family. You'll get to see their names pop up right at the end of the run. So if you are interested in being able to get your name up on one of our videos, make sure you head over to that join button that's right next to the subscribe button, and obviously press the subscribe button if you haven't already. But joining is literally as simple as 99p a month, and it just gets your name up on there, and it also gives you exclusive Discord privileges over as well with us as well. Massive thanks for watching this video, and massive thanks to Steph Key for obviously bringing it to the Outriders community attention, and massive thanks to Cloud Plays for obviously making his video and obviously tuning into one of our streams to be able to set us this challenge in the first place. Obviously his channel will be in the description below, so make sure you head over there if you haven't already and get yourself signed up for obviously other Outriders content as well. That just pretty much leaves me with just to say, keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, see you all on that next video.